Welcome to the Beyond Cinema magazine interviews at the AFCI pavilion at Cannes. We're with Anna Ilic, Executive Director of the Serbian Film Commission. Firstly, welcome to Cannes.
Thanks.
For you, I like finding out where people started. So how long have you been essentially the film commissioner, and what were you before this? What was the position you held before this job?
Well, I've been in this position for about 4 years now. And before that, I was mostly in tourism, basically promoting Serbia as a tourism destination, especially for business and convention tourism.
And so why the switch to film? How did that happen for you?
It happened by chance initially, and I was very doubtful about it. I have to be honest about it. But actually I loved it, and I grew to love it really dearly. And now I consider the Film Commission being a new thing that basically I and my small team created from scratch. Now consider it my baby, and I'm so emotionally even attached to it, and I want to make it work long term. So I'm very committed to it now.
What was the biggest challenge you saw when you first took on the position? Like creating something from nothing, what was it that you thought, okay, this is going to be a little bit more difficult, but what I really want to achieve?
Well, it took a while to educate people locally about what film commissions do and how they do it. And then the next step was actually to convince the government that it's something that we need, which is basically why we are a very unconventional film commission, because we are a completely industry-driven, independent film commission. We're not a government department or a government body. We are actually an association of film professionals and film producers. So we do get some support from the government in terms of some subsidies and some of the support from the Investments and Exports Agency and things like that, and tourism department as well. But basically we're still a completely industry-driven organization, which is not a typical film commission.
So would you say as a result of that you're more focused on providing good conditions for Serbian filmmakers to make movies rather than bringing in foreign productions? Or?
No, that's the job of another organization that is within the government. It's called the Film Center, and it's also a film fund. What we do very strictly is promoting Serbia for international film productions and helping them when they come in to get smooth productions and get all the services they need. So that's why we work locally with the industry and the government on all levels to improve the film-friendly environment, which you would call.
So with what project do you think you've had the biggest impact so far? Is it The Raven, or is it Lockout, or is it something completely different?
I think the first big one for us was Coriolanus, which was Ray Fine's directorial debut, because it got a lot of media attention, a lot of coverage in the international media, and the crew was first class. The cast and the crew was first class. So we got a lot of visibility out of that, but also we got a lot of local people interested and even trained on that project per se. So it was and having a smooth project like that, which was very personally important for Rafe himself, was a great reference for us, and that's how basically the buzz about Serbia started internationally.
So those people who got trained, and were they getting trained by the crews coming in to work with Rafe, or was that something that you guys instituted and said it was a condition of them coming in to shoot?
Well, basically the crews are very well experienced and trained already, and English speaking, most of them, 90% of them are English speaking, except that they didn't have a chance to have so much experience on international productions coming into the country. And this was a great example how they actually get involved and learn from heads of departments who come in internationally usually, to get trained on working on bigger productions of higher level, higher budget, bigger budgets, and bigger in terms of high profile projects. So this was a really big and important deal for us to, as an example and as a case study basically, to prove to the government and the industry why this is important, how this improves even the image of the country itself, but also how effective economically it is. We also, on the other hand, we also try to do trainings all the time in the country for different professions within the industry, just to make sure that the crews are ready to welcome internationals.
And how did the government respond to those first productions? Do they now see the value in it, or are they still needing to be massaged?
They do see the value of it, and they were some parts of the department of government more than the others were very, very helpful and very supportive in terms of opening some very not accessible locations for the production, like the Parliament building and a lot of military buildings, and even people and equipment. That was all given without any hesitation, very generously to the production, and that was really good. So the government saw real value out of it, and it helped get the incentive into a law and lobby for the incentive along the way. So now it's in the law, and we need to see that it's implemented in the next few months.
In implementing a law, what countries did you look for or look towards as an example of what you were trying to achieve?
We did extensive research of all the different incentive models around the world to make sure that we have one that will work best from both the government side and the producer side, something that can be easily adapted to our legal system and easily administered. And we also looked at our immediate competitors like Prague and Budapest. So we worked out a good plan for the incentive that should be part of the whole offer very soon.
Were you actively competing against those countries on projects like Coriolanus or The Raven or something like that?
Some of them, yes, absolutely. Coriolanus was actually looking at some other countries in the region like Croatia and Romania and Prague, I think, and then they chose Belgrade for their entire production. They did a very small part in Montenegro because of the coast. For Raven, Raven shot part of it in Hungary, so it was a combination of the two countries being so close together. It's very convenient to move around. So they basically used advantages of both countries, which is good. And I'm a strong believer that we should all organize ourselves regionally and work together to promote the region. And it's in all of our interests to keep Eastern Europe interesting and attractive for film producers, so they can combine the countries or do a bit here, a bit there. These are all small countries, so we can work together, and locations are very diverse over the region, so they can move around easily. It's all very close, and we should all work together.
It's very, very diplomatic. Is there a particular film that has been shot either fully or in part in Serbia that's your personal favorite?
Coriolanus is very dear to me because I was involved in that process from the very beginning, from their first location scouting trip. So I believe that's very dear to me. But I think Lockout is a great example, which is the Luc Besson Europa Corp production, which was shot entirely in Serbia in the studios, which is a great reference we use to promote the brand new studios we have just out of Belgrade. And the crews and the set builders, the production designers that we have. So it's also a very important reference for us.
And when Guy Pearce and Maggie Grace, come into town to film something like that, do they get like the royal treatment, get shown around town and get to take in some tourist things as well? Or do they strictly come in, do the shoot and kind of move on?
Well, most of them who stay longer get to see everything. What is good in Belgrade is that they never get annoyed by the paparazzi or the people on the street. People don't expect to see big movie stars on the street, so they would probably not even notice them. So I know Guy Pearce was just walking around on the streets, strolling around. They don't even like to stay in the hotels. They usually stay in apartments to get the full experience of the city. And I know Rafe loved the city and was enjoying even the nightlife, the restaurants. Guy Pearce was also saying a lot of good things about the food and the time he spent there. So a lot of them like to stay in the apartments and have their privacy there and walk around freely, which they're allowed. They feel completely safe to do that, and they usually use that chance.
If you could ask your government for one thing right now, what would it be?
It would be to make sure that the incentive starts working as of this summer.
Well, thanks for joining us for a few minutes. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.